2015 general elections is a few months away, and never before have Nigerians been so politically inclined and interested in issues of governance as now. This is the Gavel. I am Omelogo Nnadi. Thanks for joining us. The Ekiti State governorship elections in June, followed by Osun State elections early August, were closely monitored by many Nigerians on ground and from different spectrum, including the new media. The results of these elections raised greater interest in the electorate and even the political parties and their aspirants, who gleaned lessons upon which 2015 aspirations rest. The first interview is with a lawmaker from the opposition party who talked about the race to 2015 and other issues.
My answer is going to be mixed because on the face value of it, yes, the process then appeared normal and accreditations were done and votes were cast. But the result of the election, to the best of my ability, does not truly reflect what I consider to be the popular wish of the people. And there has been several interpretations by different schools of thought. But as an active local player who was involved at every stage of the preparation for the elections, from electioneering to campaign and what have you, I am still not convinced that what we have is a true reflection of the generality of Ekiti people. And I'm happy that the party has decided to challenge the results in the tribunal based on grounds that they have provided evidence for, and it will be the responsibility of the panel of judges to assess the evidence against the facts on the table and come to conclusion. And that's the established process for elections for which one or two parties disagree with the outcomes. And I think it's a fair proposition for APC to say there were certain observations from heavy militarization, irregular arrest of people without offenses, severe intimidation of key players in our party. And these also resonated into apprehension, fear, anxiety by the populace. And all of these factors, in my opinion, had to play in the results that we are contesting in court.
But we've seen the governor coming out to congratulate the governor-elect, and he hasn't said anything to suggest that he intends to go to court or the electoral tribunal over the election.
Well, there's a difference between the opinion of the governor and that of the party. In any case, the governor gave a conditional statement that said, if I remember him very well, he said that if, and that's a strong word, that if the result of that election is a true representation of the wishes of the people, so be it. But what if it is not? And I think that is the position of the party. They believe that the result of the election, to the best of their abilities and judgment and evidence available to them, does not represent the wishes of the people. Don't forget also that Mr. Governor Dr. Kayode Fayemi is the chief executive of the state, and he has responsibility for security and maintenance of peace, law and order. Given the kind of emotions that attended the shocking announcement of that result, he had to take a responsible position, first as a statesman rather than as a partisan politician, to make sure that his utterances and choices and whatever statements he makes does not aggravate an already tense situation that may lead to loss of life and property. And I think that is the prism in which I see his statement. It was meant to calm tension down while the pursuit of justice is a deferred decision, and that's where we are at the moment.
Do you think the APC can retain the southwest states, bearing in mind that we're seeing crisis erupting in Ogun State and even in Oyo State, in the National Assembly, we've seen two lawmakers defect from the PDP and the APC, defect from the APC to the PDP and Accord Party. Are you worried that the APC might not retain the southwest states as it did in the previous election?
I'm not worried at all. Why am I not worried? Because it is just an expression of freedom for people to associate and dissociate in a peaceful manner. In my state, there were PDP legislatures that decamped into APC. That's not an indication of war or of concern. It's an expression of freedom. And I think what is happening in Ogun State, if it's anything to write home about, is just part of the process of aligning and realigning in order to form a critical mass that will go to election and compete in a peaceful atmosphere. The whole idea of a preemptive determination of the results of an election in itself suggests stereotyping that does not recognize the right of people to ask for change. I don't belong to that school of thought. People can move wherever they want to move, as long as they are not moving with guns and rocket fire, as long as they are just saying, I don't want to be here, I want to be there, and their supporters are free to choose where they want to vote. Whatever comes out of that process, for me as a Democrat, is acceptable.
You raised a motion on national planning. In that motion, you talked about how inadequate the nation's, or ineffective, the nation's budgeting process is. Now that motion, the Senate, your committee, conducted a public hearing. What did you learn from the public hearing, and what is happening to that motion?
Well, the basis of that motion to start with is the need for us as a country to optimize the use of our resources, which is largely coming from non-renewable sources. As we all know, Nigerian wealth and revenue is not taxation-based, is based on exploitation of hydrocarbons, which has a finite quantity that can be available for the country over the years. As you also know, there are also the issue of pricing. The international volatility in oil market sometimes gives us good price, sometimes there's a crash in price, and with that ups and down comes with the fortunes or misfortunes of our country. And I think the way to address that is to engage in a deliberate, conscious, and constant planning. That motion was raised, well received, public hearing was hard, a report was presented back to the Senate, and in the usual culture of our democracy, it is left for the executive arm of government to find value or lack of value in these resolutions and materials that come from the debate of the floor of the Senate for the executive to use and run with these ideas. But you know as much as I do that there are people in this government who believe that the opinion of the parliament concerning motions is just advisory, is not binding, and therefore they are not bound to use it. We run a system in this country that does not value ideas, and that, for me, is not the sign of a developing government or a developmental government.
Another critical motion which was moved was that of the immigration recruitment exercise where 16 people died. And you are on that committee. Now, since the committee organized public hearings, which we covered, and has come out with a report which it laid, but since we've not heard anything about that report, what is happening to the report?
Well, I think to the best of my knowledge, the report has been laid by the chairman of the committee. I am his vice chairman. I'm aware that the report has been concluded and laid on the floor of the Senate. it is left for the Senate to put it on agenda for discussion, in which case the chairman of the committee will have to present the report to the entire Senate for debate, which you know, and after that it becomes the official position of the Senate. So as far as the committee is concerned, the committee has done its job. The motion was raised by the chairman, no less the president than the chairman of the committee, signed by the entire Senate. The public hearing has been done. Unfortunately, I was not around throughout the period. I was in Ekiti campaigning for the elections. But I was part of the report, reading, finalization, and I played the role that I'm supposed to play. The committee has submitted the thing to the Senate. It is left for Senate to put it on the agenda. And you know where to go when it comes to that.
Now, some Nigerians are concerned that report, nothing will come out of that report. We even knew some lawmakers expressed their reservations that nothing will come out of that report.
You see, there are many things that happens in our country that don't happen in other climes. There's no other climes where the kind of missing monies get spoken about. There's no other climb where 230 girls are abducted and over 100 days nobody has a clue other than we are working at it. There's no other climb where extra budgetary expenditures are made without any consequences. There's no other climb where presidential campaigns break outside the electoral timetable and nothing happens. There's no other climb where impeachment becomes an instrument of partisan control and leadership. What's the point am I saying? I feel the pulse of the public because I'm also a part of the public. My family is part, my constituents are part. There are people from my states who are part of that recruitment. They keep asking me questions. But the point I'm making to you is that as far as I can responsibly declare, and as far as I can, discharge my legislative responsibility as a member of that committee, I have done. And I speak for myself and every member of that committee that our part of the job has been done. And these questions you are putting at me should be directed to the managers of the agenda of the Senate. There's a rules and business, there's a presiding officer, there's a deputy presiding officer, there's a leader of the Senate, who are the people that determines what comes on the agenda. I think this question should be directed at them. And I can speak as the vice chairman of this committee for my chairman and other members that every constitutionally assigned responsibilities for us as members of that committee have been delivered. And whatever is outstanding is not our obligation.